So I didn't realize that there are apparently women involved in your human trafficking gang.
Yeah, in this organized criminal gang. So what you have to understand is this. They didn't want the case file, the evidence to be that I manipulated people by being nice to them, to make TikTok videos. That's not what they wanted. They put me all over the news. They searched every house I own in the country with armed men. They were looking for victims of something. Yes. They were looking for scorned ex-girlfriends. Any woman to come forward and say that she was hurt by me. They were looking for real evidence. The fact that the case file is so laughable now is just because real evidence doesn't exist. So when you have no real evidence, you go for junk evidence. You try to make your case on human trafficking based on, well, they were nice to these girls on TikTok. And these are girls who would say to me, hey, share my post on Instagram. I'll be like, yeah, no problem. So, because I'm a big social media guy. I don't know a single person when I had Instagram, from my cameraman to my personal trainer, who didn't ask me to blow them up on Instagram. But that is now the link they have between me and these people, saying that they're human trafficked, even though these people, defend me. But there are 2 women involved, yes. My personal assistant and her friend got thrown in prison with me. Essentially, their crime was inviting one of the alleged victims to a birthday party that I wasn't even at, that happened in this house. That's how they tied them in.
How long were these 2 women in prison?
The same 92 days. The same 92 days. The worst part...
Have they been charged?
Yeah, along with us. They're part of the organized criminal gang, which is hilarious because Luana, one of the girls, has never, ever, in the whole 6 years I've known her, had a conversation with Andrew once. They don't know each other. Andrew didn't even know her name. And she's apparently a part of this organized criminal gang. The interesting part is, do you remember Christopher Hitchens when he was alive?
I knew him well.
Oh, well, I've never met the guy, but I read an article he did for Vanity Fair about 11 or 12 years ago, where he volunteered to be waterboarded to test the effectiveness of torture on foreign prisoners. And the conclusion he came to was, in the article, and I remembered it vividly when I was in jail, if you don't have the answer to their questions and you are being tortured, you can psychologically break. You have to be torturing people who do know the answers. Otherwise, this is an ineffective mode of operating. And essentially, the way I look at the way these 2 women were treated was they were locked in prison because they know us. They're an attack vector on us. One is my personal assistant, so she knows everything I do. She does airport pickups, pays my electricity bills. And every week or so, they had the keys of freedom dangled in front of them. Are you ready to tell us about the Tate's criminal activities now? And they said no, and they stayed in prison. The next week, you ready to tell us about the criminal activities that the Tate brothers did? And the problem is, they can't have told the police about criminal activities that I take part in, because those criminal activities don't exist. So I see it as a method of psychological torture. I'm not mad I was sent to jail. Any notions of being angry at injustice and stuff that I truly have in my soul is for those 2 girls who went to jail with me, because they didn't deserve it. I mean, I've probably done something in my life that made me deserve something. These are 2 wonderful people. And they were sent to prison with me. One for having the crime of being my personal assistant, and one for the crime of knowing me and showing up at parties where these alleged victims who say they weren't victims were at. And they're charged in this organized criminal gang.
But to be clear, none of the charges pertain to sex,
no,
rape,
no,
selling anyone,
no,
slavery, moving people across international borders to pimp them out.
No, but that's certainly what they would have wanted. It's not the fact that, as I said, the evidence is junk because they now have to put a case together.
But I'm confused as to how what you're being accused of constitutes human trafficking.
Well, it's a very loose law. It's a very,
But the term doesn't seem to have a real definition.
No, it doesn't, especially when you understand that the Romanian alleged victims, who say they're not victims, have lived in this country for 10 to 15 years before I ever showed up here. So I'm not sure how the trafficking took place. But in a very loose way, they had to prove I was doing something with women by coercing them for my financial benefit, which is how we ended up with the TikTok story. Because the real evidence they wanted, maybe the prosecutors, maybe the people who attacked me genuinely thought I was a pimp. Maybe they did when they started this. And they assumed that the perp walk and putting me in handcuffs and walking me in front of the cameras would have women coming forward saying they were harmed. Maybe they were looking for real evidence. I don't believe if they knew that they were going to end up with this TikTok story, they would have initiated this attack in the first place. I really don't think.
Why do you think they did? What do you think this is actually about?
I think this is about Andrew. I think this is about Andrew. And the way to attack somebody is through his loved ones. I'm not going to say that, Andrew got me put in jail. But what a way to get to Andrew than to throw his little brother in jail and say, he's part of your gang, he's a human trafficker too. Because I don't even have any allegations of misogyny against me. I've never made a YouTube video and joked about men being better drivers. I've never done any of these things, but I had to go to jail along with him. So attacking me was a way of attacking him, and attacking my personal assistant and her friend, I think, was a way of hoping you were going to turn these women into prosecution witnesses, essentially, to lie and say that we did crimes. It's about Andrew and his message. That's all it's about.
And it's the gender role stuff, you think?
The gender role stuff, telling men to be men, it's just dangerous for what the Andrew calls the matrix, or the deep state is trying to purport on men today. It's very interesting to think that the first man ever banned from discussion in UK public schools is Andrew Tate. Adolf Hitler, you were allowed to talk about him during World War II and after World War II. The leader of Argentina during the Falklands War, Osama bin Laden after 9/11. Terrorists, school shooters, the 7/7 bombers who attacked the subway in London. You were allowed to discuss all these people in school. The first man ever to be banned is a mixed race, a half-black kid from the projects who came up out of the projects and became a multimillionaire. Maybe they just want the working class to stay the working class. Maybe they don't want people like him opening his mouth. Maybe it's because he joked that men are better drivers than women, and he's a misogynist. I don't think it's the third option. I think it's either option one or option two. I think he's dangerous to what people want to purport on the society. And it's as simple as that. It's certainly not because I've human trafficked anyone. That's not why I was in jail. That can't be why I was in jail, because that had never happened.
What was it like being in jail with your brother?
Romanian jail is no picnic. But frankly, once they moved me into a room with Andrew, frankly, I quite enjoyed jail. You know, I think that when I got out, I spoke to a girl I knew, and she goes, in 3 years, you'll laugh about this. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was laughing in jail, and I'm laughing right now. They might send me back for 5 years for TikTok theft. But TikTok theft, that's what I'm officially accused of. But frankly, I quite enjoyed it. I feel like me and my brother are very busy people. We live together. We've spent every waking hour together since we were born, essentially. But we have our own lives to live. I've got my daughter, I've got business to run, he's got business to run. We're both at our laptops a lot, we're on our phones a lot, we're on our devices a lot. I said to Andrew after the first month, I said, we may have had more meaningful conversations this month than we would have potentially had this year if we hadn't been sent to jail. So I feel like our relationship is stronger than before. And there's no universe where I can't make Andrew laugh. And you have all the time in the world to play your stupid jokes. So every time someone didn't want to smoke a cigarette, you insult him, you call him names, that's what guys do. Andrew would go out to visit the doctor or the lawyer, etc. I don't know if he's going to be back in 10 minutes or in an hour. And I'd open a pack of cigarettes and stand by the door like this. So the first thing he does when he opens the door is me forcing him to smoke a cigarette. I had all the time in the world to play jokes on him. So I still don't see it as such a negative thing. And people will call me crazy. But it was me and my brother drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, talking. We have an innumerable amount of stories and experiences and ideas, and he knows things I don't. I know things he doesn't. I'm a Christian, he's a Muslim. We have ideas that conflict, and we debate because we're smart. And I really think it brought us closer together.
What was it like to be off your phone for 9 months or 90 days?
92 days. It was, you get used to it very quickly, but you have nothing to do with your hands. That's the problem. My cigarette's gone out. That's why I started smoking. But everything became entertainment. I don't like junk food. I don't like sugar. Andrew would get a chocolate bar from somewhere. You want half? Yeah, fine. Because that was fun. New sensations became entertainment. We had a bottle of mouthwash. We didn't use it every time. Every 4 days, I'd use some mouthwash. It would kind of make me smile because it would remind me of life outside of prison. So in this world of constant bombardment and constant stimulation, you find an appreciation for the things in life that you overlooked before. A handshake, a hug, a joke. And I appreciated those things much more now that I've come out of jail than I ever did before.
What an interesting take on it. Did you meet anyone interesting in there?
Interesting. Define interesting. I met people, to be fair to the Romanian justice system, it works the way it does because Romania hasn't got much money. If you arrest some guy because you suspect he's been breaking into cars, for example, and you can't hold him without evidence and you let him go, you'll never find him again. He'll go back to his village and you'll never see the guy again. So there was one kid who was in jail for looking in car windows, essentially. We're going to investigate this guy month after month after month. Couldn't afford lawyers, was just sitting around in jail. So people had very interesting stories. I met heroin dealers, real human traffickers. I mean, like actual human traffickers. I'd go to court, and the policeman who would escort me would say, "Oh, they definitely got to let you out." And I say, "Why?" They said, "Because I see real human trafficking cases. They've got basements and dungeons with urine-stained mattresses and handcuffs and messages saying, better get back out on the streets. That's real human trafficking. They're accusing you because you told a girl to post a TikTok video at a certain time because it's better interaction. That's their evidence against you. You're definitely getting out." And then I didn't get out. And all the police were shocked. So I met some very interesting prisoners. I met some very interesting prison guards. But...
What were the guards like?
The guards were very good people.
Really?
I feel like the guards they know what a criminal is and what a criminal isn't. I'm not going to say they knew my case. I'm not going to say they knew I was innocent. But they know what human traffickers, rapists, sexual criminals actually look like because they deal with them day to day. One of the policemen was telling me a story of after a day in court, he had to stay in the police van. His hands were shaking because he couldn't escort the guy back into jail because he said I was going to get on my nightstick and break his teeth in because he saw what the guy had been doing to children. You know, these guys know what real criminals look like. And a lot of them just wanted to make sure we were okay. They didn't want anything bad to happen in the prison. And I could say I made 2 or 3 friends from the guards. They were very good people doing their job diligently, and nobody abused their power and nobody mistreated anyone. Yeah, real good people. And they weren't the ones who did this to me. So I couldn't harbor any hate towards them.
Who do you think did it to you?
I don't want to say anything that's going to get me into trouble on this one.
But you have a good sense of it.
Let's just say this would have happened in any NATO or European Union country that I chose to live in. It would have happened. It would have happened in Spain. It would have happened in Poland. It would have happened in France. The French, the Spanish, and the Polish have nothing against me. I think the Romanians really have nothing against me. The Romanian people love me. You know, Romania is the most Christian country in the world outside of the Vatican City. 98.8% Orthodox Christian. These people share the same values as me. They don't feel people like me should be locked up. I have so much support in Romania from both powerful people and common people alike. So it's very hard for me to believe that the Romanians woke up one day and thought, this guy who publicizes how wonderful our country is and spends millions of dollars here in this country, let's get him. I find it very difficult to believe that that was a Romanian idea because it's not the kind of thing you would do. Why would you? If you had a great neighbor move into your neighborhood, raise the property values, talk about how great your neighborhood is, he was a law-abiding citizen, didn't hurt anyone, would you think, yeah, we need to go throw petrol bombs in his house? Let's burn his house down, let's get him out. No, you wouldn't. So I believe this would have happened anywhere. So I won't say who did it, but I don't hold Romania responsible at all, and I never will. People said if they drop this case, they can't just drop it because you'll sue the country. And I famously tweeted, I will never sue the country of Romania. Romania has struggling hospitals, struggling orphanages, infrastructure issues, the pensions are a mess, the teachers need pay rises. They've made me feel welcome up until this point, and this has been my home country. My daughter is a Romanian. I'm not going to steal $200 million from the government and do what with it? I don't need the money. I don't want this to reflect negatively on this country in any way, but it has. Who with money and power and influence wants to come here now? It's made people nervous, and that hurts me. As I said, my daughter is a Romanian citizen. This is her country. So it's my country too, isn't it? So I don't like the reputational damage this country has faced. And exactly who did it, I think in 5 or 6 years we'll find out. There'll be fingerprints on a lot of pieces of paper that we'll be able to know exactly why this happened. But it didn't happen because I'm a human trafficker. Do you feel human trafficked? Do you feel kidnapped, Tucker, here in my house?
I feel very charmed, and that's a form of human trafficking.
Yeah, no, technically it is, yeah.
When did you become a Christian?
Shortly after moving here.
Really?
I was disenfranchised with Christianity. I just mentioned Christopher Hitchens. I read a few books that he wrote when I was younger. And I thought, you know what? I looked around England and the way society was collapsing and the way Christians behaved. I mean, this pride flags in churches, this is a relatively new phenomenon, but let's just say it started with versions of reality I saw like that. And I thought, you know, Christians don't really stand for anything anymore. I challenge any atheist to walk around Romania and just insult Jesus Christ to the normal Romanian man. People say, oh, well, if you insult the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Muslims will punch you in the face. Go and do that in Romania and insult Jesus. The Romanians stand for something. And I saw how Christianity holds this country together. You couldn't wear that watch in London. Walking around London with that watch and no bodyguards could be a death sentence. You could get as drunk as you like by yourself in any bar in Bucharest with that watch on and no one's going to steal it from you. The Romanian people are good people, and Christianity is what helps hold the society together. Also, the maternal grandfather of my daughter is an Orthodox Christian priest. So even when I was dating his daughter, he was insisting that the grandkids have to be baptized, etc. And I fell back into Christianity by reading the Bible cover to cover 6 years ago. And it opened my eyes to what I was standing against as an atheist. And I thought, why would I stand against this? And then look at atheists. Go to these men standing naked with their dicks out in front of kids, you know. These people aren't Christians. Look at how the atheists behave, how they fetishize serious issues like abortion. Haha, I had 30 abortions, this is funny. No, it's not funny. I'm not even saying it should be illegal. That's not funny. These are all atheists. These are the godless people. That's my team? I looked around and thought, these people don't represent me. Why am I saying I'm an atheist? Let me at least investigate what I'm missing out on. And that's what converted me.
What was your childhood like?
You know, I don't want to say difficult. I don't want to say difficult because me and my brother were always a team and we always lifted each other up in difficult situations. And now that I look back on things, when we first moved to England, we lived in a homeless shelter for 3 years with a bunch of other families. We had one single room, my mother, my sister, my brother, and me. And when I was a kid, like, you'd go to your friend's house at school and then he'd be like, I'll come to your house next weekend. And my mother would have to explain to his mother, look, he can't come here. We live in a homeless shelter. But it never really hurt me at the time. I didn't feel like I was hard done by the world. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't have this victim mentality because my father wouldn't allow me to think that way. So I can say it was difficult in retrospect compared to how my kids are going to be raised. They're going to have a much easier life than I had. But I didn't have a difficult time dealing with it when I was going through it. So I'd say my childhood was excellent because I had a mother who made sure we had 3 meals a day, a mother who had my clothes washed and ironed and repaired. If a button fell off, she could fix it. She took care of us. She read books to us. You know, I read a lot of books myself. We're not university educated. We left education at 16 years old, high school. So we're self-educated people. And yeah, I liked my childhood. I think it was very fun.
Why'd you leave the UK?
Money. My father got essentially screwed over by the VA, a story that I won't tell here. But although he played chess and he was a very smart man, he had no money, none. And there was a point when my mother and him, I believe, were going through the divorce, and she made the point of, look, if something happens to the kids, we can't afford to take them to the hospital. And they made the decision together saying, well, look, the kids are British citizens, you're a British citizen, go over and live in England. We'll see if we can fix the marriage at some point in the future. It never happened. But it was a financial issue that made us move. And probably one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Did you think about staying there when you became an adult?
Did I think about going back to the United States?
No, back to the UK.
Back to the UK? No. Well, I've always felt British. I moved to England when I was 8. So I was very young, it's why my British accent is stronger than Andrew's, because he was a year and a half older than me by the time we moved there. But I really liked England, and I'm super proud of England and proud to be British, which upsets me because obviously England's falling apart. But I consider myself English, so I like that country. I can't move back now. When the government is saying you can't talk about this guy's brother in school, I'm going to move back there. I'm public enemy #1, and bad things will happen, worse than they happened here, I suspect. So sadly, I can't go back to England, but I do love England. I said if I could swear loyalty to any British leader ever, it would have been the Queen of England. King Charles, not so much. But like everyone's like, oh, who do you vote for? You know, Labour or Conservative, Liberal, Democrat? I was like, no, Queen Elizabeth II. That's the politician I'm proud of. I don't want to hear about the others because they're not interesting. And they just want to see the country fall apart.
Do you think the monarchy will continue?
If Charles dies soon, and I hope he doesn't, I believe that people will rally behind William in a way they have not rallied behind Charles. I believe that William is a much more popular figure. I believe that William has less skeletons in his closet, let's say. I believe that he could revive the English love for the monarchy, which died with Queen Elizabeth II. It depends how long Charles is the placeholder. But unfortunately, everything great about England is being destroyed. And the royal family is one of those institutions that I believe to be a great institution, one of the great things about England. So there are people actively seeking to destroy it. If I had my way, the monarchy wouldn't go anywhere. But
why are people seeking to destroy it, do you think? And more broadly, the West?
Well, they don't want anybody to have anything to be proud of. It's the reason buildings are ugly. It's the reason they'll take down your national flags. It's the reason they allow mass amounts of unchecked immigration of people from different cultures, some of them good, some of them bad, to flood into your borders. They just don't want anybody to have anything to rally behind, whether it be a flag or a monarch. So then they can just divide people and tell people how to think, what to do, how to behave. You know, if I say, no, Queen Elizabeth has these certain values and I'm British, so I'm going to have the same values as her. I'll give you an example. I like to speak the Queen's English. Now it's the King's English, but that's what it's called. English people can't even speak their own language anymore. You ever been to London? Heard their accents?
Yes.
I know Americans who are illiterate, but it is the English language, so I'll bully the English. There are British people who speak one language and can't even speak it right. No. Speaking the Queen's English was the standard we used to set for people to communicate with one another. That's gone. So it's sad that these people want to destroy the foundations of almost every society. And what better way in England to destroy the foundation of British society and British patriotism than destroying the crown?
Where did your views come from? I mean, both you and your brother seem to have a very coherent worldview.
Yeah.
That even if I didn't agree with it, of course I do, but if I didn't, I would still think, boy, these guys have thought it through. You left school at 16.
16.
You both became professional fighters.
Yes.
So how did this develop?
We had very little else to do than to. This is no joke. Like, people joke. They say, "How do you feel being under home arrest?" I joke and I say, "I was under home arrest for 7 years. I was broke. My car had no gas, and I had nowhere to go. I was in a smaller apartment than this. I was in self-imposed home arrest from having no money." Me and Andrew have never had much to do, but we've always loved discussing ideas, and we're always with the other person who at least is matched intellectually. And we've agreed on things and disagreed on things. Even now, like I said, he's a Muslim, I'm a Christian. I came out of jail. I've read 4 books on Islam since getting out of jail. Why? Not necessarily to counter-argue with him, but just to learn more about issues that are important to him. We read books on history, and I think if you have a very good understanding of history, you can understand the problems in the modern world. Yes. And that's a massive problem. I get mad at Romanians for it. Romanians don't know their own history. And I'll literally get mad at Romanians for not knowing their history.
Like medieval history or like Ceausescu history, recent history?
Even if you take World War II history.
Yes.
For example, every single Romanian city and Romanian village has a little war memorial in the middle, listing all the names of the people who died. I say to Romanians, where did these men fight? Where did they die? Nobody knows that when Paulus's army approached Stalingrad,
I was about to say they died in Stalingrad.
Exactly. His entire rear guard was Romanians and Italians.
That's exactly right.
And Zhukov's counterattack, out of 259,000 Romanian soldiers, 139,000 died in that counterattack.
And then the rest got dragged into Stalin's Russia and never came back.
And when Romanians don't know that, I get offended. I'm like, how can you not know that? How can you be proud of being a Romanian and drive past that monument every single day and not know where those men fought and died? So even out of respect for the country I live in, I'll learn its history. So I just, when you know history, you can look at the modern world and see what's wrong with it, what's right with it, what's going wrong, what could go wrong. And I feel like an understanding of history is the basis of mine and Andrew's knowledge, if you can even call it knowledge. Because I don't consider myself a professional in anything, besides maybe kickboxing. And that's it.
Do you miss it?
No, I'm lucky. I had a car crash at 28, ruined my shoulder, so my retirement was final. I had to retire. I had one MMA fight after that, and I lost because my shoulder dislocated when I was wrestling with the guy, and I tapped out. Obviously, the haters love to watch that fight and be like, "Oh, look, he tapped out for no reason." I was trying to push the guy off. My shoulder slipped out of place. So I don't miss it, and I'm very lucky that I'm in the position where, like with prison, I see good in every situation. I can't go back to it now. So it's fine. I did it. I'm very proud of myself. I'm the 2-time European champion. 28, car crash. I've washed my hands of it. I still stay in good physical condition. I still train very hard. I still take my health very seriously. But going back to fighting isn't an option I have. When you look at some fighters, we were talking about them earlier. I'm not going to name and shame anyone because I respect every boxer who's ever got in the ring. But some guys, they're old. They're still getting in the boxing ring. They're still fighting people they shouldn't. They don't know what else to do. I had to move on. So by definition, I can't miss it because going back isn't an option. So I got very lucky. Andrew misses it a lot more because he could always get back into perfect shape and go fighting again. So he misses it a lot more, and it's haunted him Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, he was like, oh, did I do the right thing retiring? Should I have gone back? 5th world title, 6th world title, because it's just who he is. He's a warrior in his soul, and he loves war. But war can be just, and war can be noble. It doesn't have to be, what we typically think of as war. Andrew's at war with the world, and he always has been. Andrew 14, 15 years ago, I'd watch an internet debate. I can't remember the exact debate I was watching. I think it was back when Intelligence Squared used to host those debates. I used to watch those 14, 15 years ago, before everyone's attention span was ruined by TikTok. And I said to Andrew, you have to come and watch this debate. It was absolutely amazing. I think it was about reparations in the United States. It was on the issue of reparations. I said, this is a great debate, Andrew. You have to come watch it. And he looked at me and went, we're broke, Tristan. I said, what? He goes, you're sitting there watching debates. We have no money. How are we going to pay the rent? We are broke. He was furious. And he was always at war, like singularly focused on becoming successful in every single metric, which was very cool because then it inspired me. I was like, yeah, what am I watching debates for? I don't know how to pay the electricity bill to keep watching these next month. Let's get to work. So he's always inspired me a lot, but he's been at war with the world in a very healthy and positive way.
Have you guys always lived together?
Yeah, always. Always. From living in my mother's house to moving out together, and I don't know why I wouldn't live with him. People say, like, oh, it's weird you share a house. I've got 9 bedrooms. You've seen this place. If I want private space, if I want to sit by myself or, with my girlfriend or, I've got plenty of room to be alone. But he's always...
Why do people say it's weird to live with your brother?
I have no idea. I feel like Western society, the ideas that are purported to young men to divide, if you have 3 or 4 brothers in a family, go to different universities, study different things, pay a bunch of different rents to a bunch of different people. The idea, which is more Middle Eastern, of pooling your resources and keeping the family together is not something the West pushes anymore. Have you ever heard the expression, never mix family with business?
Oh, of course.
Why? Every penny that me and Andrew make goes into joint bank accounts. We've shared all of our resources forever, since we had no money to now we have a lot of money. Why shouldn't you mix family with business? Who else are you going to trust?
Oh, I agree.
The man I grew up with and knew my entire life, or some guy who I met last year?
Why do they say that?
For the same reasons they do everything. That destroys the nuclear family, the modern society, the idea of men being close friends and being, respectful to one another and working together as a team. They want you all divided. Because when you're fighting an individual war against your life, the struggle, your bank balance, maybe your wife, your kids who don't respect you, when you're fighting that individual war, you're never going to unite and fight any kind of war that you need to fight together. Even in Romania, look, 1989, there was a massive revolution here.
Yeah.
Say what you want about communism and Ceausescu, and I hate communism, and I don't want communism to come anywhere, neither do the Romanians. But Romania is a traditional society, a Christian society. Nuclear family is very, very important to them. Family values are very important to them. How many drug addicts have you seen on the streets?
None.
Zero. Why? Because if a Romanian becomes a drug addict, his parents, his grandparents, someone will take him in, get him off the drugs. That's the backbone of society. We have zero funding here. That's why I'd never sue this country. Zero for anti-drug programs, mental health programs. How many crazy people are harassing you when you walk around?
None.
There we go. The family's very, very important. And I love Romania. So yeah, and they throw revolutions when they don't like something. They overthrew the president 6 years ago. They'll get together and say, no, we've had enough.
Well, they shot Ceausescu and his wife.
They shot him and his wife. Indeed, they did. Execute him. But I'm not a fan of communism, and neither are the Romanians. But Ceausescu wasn't, if you know about his life, he wasn't necessarily an evil man, but he was a completely uneducated man. It's easy in 2023 to say communism doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. You know it doesn't work. It's 1945, Romania. Communism's a new idea. Everyone's broke. Maybe we should try this. Some of the people who got into it and bought into it didn't necessarily do it with the worst of intentions.
Right.
Anyone pushing communism today is either thinks they're working under good intentions because they don't understand history at all. Like I said, lack of understanding of history. Or they're evil. They're truly evil because we know it doesn't work and we know how it ends up.
Hey guys, Chris here from Amazine Outdoors. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, and turn on notifications for Amazine Outdoors. If if you want to see more videos like this. Amazine Outdoors is a skull hanging company based out of Michigan. We use locally sourced steel to CNC plasma cut and fabricate all of our products. Our motto is simple, effective, and affordable. There are no fancy names or over-engineered designs. The hangers are built around the skull itself to allow you to securely hang your skull anywhere you please. They are priced with hunters in mind so you don't have to spend big money to hang your big bucks. AmazineOutdoors.com